All right. Listen, we've got the good and the bad out there as we leave the West Coast swing, come back home to Darlington. We review Vegas, preview Darlington, and in the middle, we talk about a driver suspended, a driver out of the car yet again. For how long, we don't exactly know, and a couple of former teammates that have scrapped, which has been the topic du jour this week here on the Five to Go podcast as we're falling apart in Devin's background over there.
Yeah, we
Now,
are.
I'm your co-host Doug Fireball Turnbull from the announcing team at Performance Racing Network. PRN was out at Vegas. I was not this past weekend. Also part of the traffic team at 11 Alive WXIA TV here in Atlanta with Rachel Cox Rosen and your Atlanta Journal-Constitution gridlock guys. So I like to talk about slow cars and fast cars, and I'm honored to be here with you here on the Five to Go podcast. We bring in with us here, he's certainly the guy with the best hair out of us three. He's a University of North Georgia graduate, a roving racing journo, hashtag hire Devin Kupka, ladies and gentlemen. And he's been moonlighting on other podcasts as well. Devin, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. I've had quite, I guess, the week in terms of podcasting, where I'm watching the race. Because I watched the race at the Dawsonville Pool Room this Sunday.
Okay.
And I didn't have the bully burger, but the burgers were good. That's the first time I had the burgers there. I've had the fries, so I knew what to expect there. And then appearing on the High Banked Fury podcast this week, Josh Harris joined us, the president of Darlington Raceway. So, and in between that, just a lot of work. So that's just how things have been going lately.
Dude, yeah, you've been burning it at both ends there. We need to get you in the racing industry, the sports industry, like full on, okay? Because great as you are at Culver's, we need you doing this full time. This is our golf game over here, folks. For those that don't know, on the Five to Go podcast, but good to have you on, Devin. Thanks for making the time in between your busy schedule and mine, and between our other distinguished co-host schedule, our 2018 Georgia Racing Hall of Fame inductee, 1988 Cup Series mechanic champion. He's also the guy that makes those gears go the way they're supposed to go there in unison in Dawsonville in the garage. Dan Elliott, how you doing?
Doing good. I'm about like y'all. I'm trying to recover from a couple of diagnosing a couple of Tremec transmissions, a couple of top loaders, and some 9-inch Ford rear ends, and trying to get caught up. I got so far behind, as I told a friend of mine that wanted me to look at his trans. I said it looks like a transmission bomb has gone off in here.
Oh no!
And until I get a little bit further ahead, we are not going to take anything in just as of yet. But I'm really proud to have work to do because a lot of people don't, and the economy is certainly one right now. And I'll just briefly touch on this, that we have no idea the uncertainty and where we're going to end up at with here in the immediate future.
We don't, with the oil prices, especially there,
Yep.
the conflict in Iran, and just uncertainty elsewhere in the world, the emergence of AI, the erosion of jobs. So that's why I think we're fortunate as a racing industry right now to see the positive momentum that we're not only seeing in NASCAR, and that's been documented. The TV ratings weren't amazing this week, but there just seems to be an overall breath of fresh air, some new sponsors coming in. Hardy's unveiled its paint scheme today as we record on Wednesday for Bubba Wallace's car that's going to run, I believe, at Martinsville after the Darlington race. Not only is it happening in NASCAR, IndyCar is having some of its best, I think its best 2 or 3 first races in a long time as far as viewership, and F1 continues its rise despite a bunch of criticism of its new 50-50 hybrid engines that have caused some strange things on the F1 grid, including McLaren having neither car start the race this past early Sunday morning out of the Chinese Grand Prix. That was incredible. Also, Andrea Antonelli, who didn't even have a driver's license before last Formula One season, won his first Formula One race. But this weekend, we stay in stock cars for the most part here on the Five to Go podcast. We did see Kyle Kirkwood in IndyCar at the brand new Grand Prix of Arlington. They debuted a new race, which I've heard other people say was just incredible layout and experience, really well put together, puts the pressure on some of the other cities that host races. But so Kyle Kirkwood won, Kimi Antonelli won, and then on the NASCAR side, we didn't have the trucks going this weekend, but we did have the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and yet another Cup driver comes down and wins one of those. It was Shane Van Gisbergen, Circuit of the Americas a couple of weeks ago, and then this time around it was Kyle Larson at Las Vegas, who took one of two different HendrickCars.com's sponsored entries in the field. This is the one that Raja Kruth usually drives. He was in the 32 this week, and he stunk the whole race basically, or was not up to par, but was able to make a bunch of hay on a restart that was caused by some controversial contact we'll get to in a moment, and get that win. And then Sunday's race, of course, won by a driver who is the last winner at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Denny Hamlin, career win number 61, and he had to overcome, as several drivers did, a pit road speeding penalty to drive from the back to the front. So this is 2 weeks in a row, Devin, that we see drivers. In Ryan Blaney's case, it was two loose wheels he drove back from. In Denny Hamlin's case, a green flag pit road speeding penalty. Did it happen under green or did it happen under yellow? I'm not sure, but he had to come back from it nonetheless and drive through the field and pass Kevin Harvick to be the 10th winningest NASCAR driver of all time. So, Devin, you can address that about the pit road penalties if you want, but overall, too, your take on the Vegas proceedings.
Yeah, I think when you look back at the Las Vegas race on Sunday, I think it's going to be a race that, I personally enjoyed it, but I don't think it's a race that we're going to remember necessarily 5 years from now. But it was cool to see Hamlin get the win on Sunday, the first win since all the stuff that's happened in the offseason with 2311, and then the personal stuff that's happened with his family as well. So that was really cool to see after the race on the front stretch, see all his family members gather. So that was really cool to see. And as you mentioned with the pit road stuff, the adversity, and that kind of goes along of what's happened over the last couple of months with Denny Hamlin. So it was really neat to see. It really was. And I thought the race played out. There was only one natural caution, that being Zilich, I think, spinning out with like 50 laps to go, something like that.
Yeah, he got run over by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. coming to the pits, too. It wasn't just the rookie blues there, I don't think.
Yeah, it was just, and that was the only natural caution, but I thought the race played out nice. Strategy was a big part of it, and I personally enjoyed the race. But, I thought the strategy was really interesting on Sunday.
You make a really interesting point. So, yeah, there's the strategy. And when everybody's running within a second of each other and you don't have natural cautions, you've got to what the engineers and the technology and the AI software and all that decide really comes to play. Not to mention if your crew can save you a tenth of a second. And I'm sure that's why drivers are pushing the lights, as they call it on the dashboard there, pushing the lights, trying to find anything they could speed-wise on pit road. And a tricky pit road where some radiuses are different than others. It's time over distance, how they measure the pit road speed. That could, throw things for a loop too if you're on the inside of a pit box making time as opposed to the outside of it. Or I said a box, a segment, a trap on pit road. So, Devin, the thing I took away most from what you said, though, is what I was thinking of saying also, which is the only thing we will remember about Sunday is Denny Hamlin became the 10th most winningest driver of all time. There wasn't this epic battle. There were certainly skirmishes. We'll talk about one in just a moment, but there wasn't something we'll go down the record books or make a highlight reel or have drivers reacting to probably in 10 years. There was a sweet moment at Victory Lane there, and I'll get to you, Dan, in just a moment, but where he had his daughters were there. They got to ride in the car, be all around the car. Denny Hamlin said on his Actions Detrimental podcast the last time he had his daughter Molly ride in the race car when he won, his daughter Taylor riding the race car when he won, was Pocono 2022 when they got disqualified for having that extra tape on the nose to give it some different shape. That win given to Chase Elliott, by the way. Chase Elliott was the second place finisher on Sunday. And we'll run down the rest of the top 10 and some other notables here in just a moment. Dan, for you, what did you take away from LVMS?
My takeaway was that the outcome was a little bit different from what I thought, because if you'd have taken Denny Hamlin out of the picture, that was kind of the outcome I thought it was going to be. But based on the win for Denny Hamlin, I consider this, to me, for him, a psychological victory, because look at the struggles that we've seen up to this race. And I thought this race was going to perpetuate itself in those struggles with the problem on pit road and having to overcome that. And had it not been for the fact that it wasn't late enough in the race that he was able to come back from this, that the outcome would have been totally different. But for me, my take is Denny did a great job. I think for him, that is a mental victory. And I think this momentum will carry definitely for the next couple of races.
I think so too. And Denny Hamlin said to PRN's Wendy Venturini at Victory Lane that he was just showing up, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but he was just showing up for the first few races. And it wasn't until he got to Phoenix where he felt like he really was locked in. Part of that is the nature of Daytona and Echo Park Speedway and Circuit of the Americas, even though he had a decent finish at COTA. Part of that was it was just powering through and just trying to get to the next deal. So Denny Hamlin wins that race, and you make some good points about that, Dan, and it was an elite car. Christopher Bell, his teammate, also led 31 laps. He was in the thick of it. Kyle Larson led 62 laps. I thought he led way more than that because this race was on largely while I was at church, and I kept looking at the NASCAR app, or it'd have the thing where it's running in the background. You see the little crawl at the top of your phone, and it kept saying the 5 car was leading. So I don't know if that was an error or if I was just looking mainly at the times that Larson led. But Larson only finished 7th. 10-month winless streak, boys, just saying, in the Cup Series. He did win Saturday. But Hamlin finished first. Chase Elliott was second. Third place, and Elliott led no laps, by the way. Third place went to William Byron, who led 26 laps on the day. Byron, back-to-back top 10 finishes there after starting the year with none. Fourth went to Christopher Bell. He led 31 laps, as I said. Back-to-back top 5 finishes for the 5th-place finisher and Hamlin's teammate and Bell's teammate, Ty Gibbs. Chris Buescher led the Fords and led RFK with a 6th-place run. 7th went to Larson, as I said. 8th went to Chase Briscoe. Probably should have had more. But Chase Briscoe also got caught speeding, not only on pit road, but also outside the racetrack. Got a speeding ticket the day of the race. Excuse me, he finished 8th. Bubba Wallace, who's back to second in points again, finished 9th. And Brad Keselowski was 10th. His teammate Ryan Preece was 11th. And the highest finishing Penske car, boys, Joey Logano at 15th. I know Ryan Blaney had some issues. It was 16th. Austin Cindric only 19th. Was anybody here, just speak up however you want, surprised about Penske not showing up? The spring race is, well, even the fall race sometimes, but certainly the spring race with Logano especially has been one of theirs.
Maybe not in recent time, because I feel like the Chevys are typically pretty strong here, and we've seen Hamlin in the last few races now run really well, so I don't think it was super surprising. Like, if you said this in 2022, I would say, yeah, I'm a little surprised, but in 2026, things have changed at Las Vegas. And this is also a track I thought Kyle Larson would go out and would run really well, which he did, but didn't end up getting the win.
Listen, that's no doubt. I was surprised Larson was a little bit off there. How about Tyler Reddick only finishing 13th, too? His first non-top 10 of the year. Bubba Wallace's for only non-top 10 this year, and they're 1 and 2 in the points. Bubba Wallace's only non-top 10 was at COTA, where he finished 11th. So the 23-11 cars, even with their bad days, are not bad right now. Again, only 5 races, but that's been pretty impressive, too. Blaney falls to 3rd of the standings. Denny Hamlin 4th. We're not going. We more hyper focused on the points, and Dan really crystallized the point last week. I think better than any of us about how much each point matters. You know, Chase Briscoe's finishes were even more flawed because of the lack of stage points. And looking at it now, he gained a bunch of spots in the standings, but he has only 8 stage points this whole year. He has the equivalent of finishing 3rd in a stage one time for the entire year. And you look at drivers with the most stage points. Would anybody be, I know this is like kind of a random thing because we don't look at this a lot. The driver that has the most stage points, in other words, results of top 10 finishes within the first 2 stages, the driver with the most stage points this year?
Christopher Bell.
Bell has 43. That is the 3rd most.
Okay.
What about Bubba Wallace?
Bingo. 53 stage points. Tyler Reddick only has 37, which is about top 5 or 6 or so. Bubba Wallace has 53 stage points. Again, he's not leading a lot of laps. He's led 86 laps the entire year. Most of that, I think, at Daytona, by the way, and Atlanta, he was really fast. 53 stage points, though. And he's 61 points behind Tyler Reddick, regardless of that, because the wins matter so much. Ryan Blaney is 6 points behind Bubba. Denny Hamlin is 11 points behind Blaney, minus 78 for the lead. And what we saw on the point standings, we're not going to get hyper-focused, but just to see how tight things are and how much they could change, even with 5 races under our belt. Shane Van Gisbergen was 1 point away from not showing up at the track this weekend. He had that problem on lap number 1, the damage. He finished multiple laps down, finished last place with the virtue of only one natural caution. Van Gisbergen plummeted from 5th in the standings to 16th. A.J. Allmendinger had a tough day. He fell 5 spots to 18th. Some of those big, early, upstarts we were talking about. And likewise, Daniel Suarez is still hanging on to 16th in points right now. Daniel Suarez is actually rather 17th in points. So he was in the top 16 at one point, and he's down to 17th. So Carson Hocevar's had a couple bad weeks. He's down to 15th. Michael McDowell -6 after a bad run. So you can see how volatile it is, especially when you don't get stage points. Now, talking about two drivers that had tough days, one of them probably was more okay with his finish than the other, Daniel Suarez. Running there back at the top 20, Ross Chastain runs to pass him on the last lap. Suarez washes up the racetrack, gets into him a little bit. Actually wanted to apologize to him, but Chastain hits his car under the cool-down lap. Suarez had also accidentally run into Chastain on the second or third lap of the race. I sent you guys a link to this here. You guys, I mean Devin and Dan. Suarez did a vlog, about a 7-minute post, and dedicated a couple of 3 minutes to talking about the contact with Chastain, his view of what happened. Chastain had a media appearance on Tuesday, the day after Suarez's kind of response. But basically, Suarez went to, he said, apologize to Chastain. Chastain said, confront him. and they had words, and Chastain ended up shoving his former teammate Suarez. Of course, Suarez was Spire now. Chastain is still a Trackhouse. And Suarez said, our relationship's always been strange. I see he was more two-faced even than I thought. He said some things that were really inappropriate when I came to talk to him. Chastain said he shouldn't have shoved him. He regrets doing that and maybe even regrets some things that he said, but he also said there was a lack of accountability on Suarez's part, and that was basically endemic to Suarez's attitude from when they were teammates, a lack of accountability. And keep in mind, they have actually tangled on pit road before. If you remember Coda a couple of years ago, Suarez got run into by Alex Bowman, but Bowman was pushed by Chastain. Suarez, after the race, rammed Bowman's car on pit road, and then he ended up, when he found out who actually caused it, had words with his own teammate. So there's a history there. Dan, I mean, look, they're not teammates anymore. What'd you think about that whole thing?
I think it comes down to what I've seen a lot in my lifetime, is that it seems like whenever you have situations where exactly personalities don't exactly mix well, that's who's going to be right beside you or behind you or in front of you every week for the rest of the year. It seems like you can't get away from them as hard as you may try or whatever you might wish. It just seems like that's the person that you're going to be racing around, or if anything happens, they're going to be in the mix of it. And passions are going to run high, and regardless of the intent, you're still going to think the worst of every situation, and it's usually not. And it's until you get calmed down and you get control of your emotions a little bit better, and just understand that everyone is trying to get the most points they can, and they're doing everything they can possibly do, and it's not going to end up being perfect.
No, it's not. And here's what Ross Chastain said, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And I'm going to ask Dan first, just about all the things he's seen, okay? Devin said, but I want to get to your take on it too. Chastain made a point of saying in his Tuesday media availability, he kept saying, Suarez was faster than me all day Sunday. They've been faster than us all year. And he said it over and over again. And I felt like he was genuflecting to his race team. We don't need to be running back here with Spire. What are we doing? What are we doing? Chastain's had a tough year. All right, he's had several races with some bad luck and not had the speed to go along with it. 20th in points right now. He actually improved 3 spots in the points despite a mid-pack finish on Sunday. But Dan, when you're that frustrated and you're using the media to communicate to the team, or you're letting everybody know, putting it on attack, we're not ready. We're not here yet. I part of it is like, that's, the kind of Kevin Harvick stuff I used to see Harvick or Tony Stewart do. But part of me thinks, if it gets too much in your head, Dan, that we're not fast, like that could bode well for this midseason, or sorry, not bode well for this midseason.
You and I both know that life is a lot of mental game, and it's attitude that makes the difference. And I agree that the team is not performing. He's used to more running up front, and I agree. But maybe this was a message not only for rivals but also for your own team as well, as let's step up the program. But this is better saved for the team meetings than it is for the open meetings with the world. And this is better said in house, and it usually is taken more as constructive criticism than it is just straight criticism. So in the effort here to get that out, I give him an F. But I know that as far as where he wants to be running and how competitive he wants to be, and I know how competitive he can be, and I give him an A on that. But you can't go about it this way, I don't feel. But that's usually when emotions and passions are high, and you say things that you think will help, but really it doesn't help, and really tears away some of the structure of your organization as far as the confidence in you, and how much you're going to put into the effort as well, because this doesn't really make sense to me. But it happens, and I've seen it time and time again. But this is not the last race. This is going to happen, and I feel like that's the ones that kind of seem to be the people that are having the most trouble running around each other right now. And that'll change as the year progresses. But as of right now, that seems to be the magnets that are attracting.
And let's add in the wrinkle. Let's add in the wrinkle that Suarez got dismissed from Trackhouse Racing, and not granted, not replaced by Chastain, but he was told that he was the odd man out, and that was the founding member of that team. There's been, and he cleared this up in the vlog. I say cleared it up. Suarez claims he's not racing anymore differently around his former race team, and he's had run-ins with Zilich and Van Gisbergen already, and now Ross Chastain. He's claiming, hey, no bad blood there. That's just where things happen to be. I'm just trying to get the most out of my day. Blah 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 blah. Driver speak, but you have to be looking at when you see that font drive by you, or when you're driving by that font, just a little that middle finger gets a little bit longer, I would say. He also objected, by the way, to Chastain flipping him off for a lap and a half after passing him too. And he has gone and beat up Bubba Wallace or yelled at Bubba Wallace before for flipping him off too much. Just saying. There's been conflict there too. Devin, took us a long time to get to you, but we want to, man. This is the talker in the NASCAR podcast and Sirius XM verse this week. This is the talker. Chastain and Suarez. How did you size it up?
I thought it was really interesting because I feel like we just don't see these things come out very often, at least at this level. I mean, I think you can, both of y'all and people listening can probably attribute something that is going on between these two. You might not like a coworker or a boss. You just can't publicly say it. But hey, now that you're split, they can. So I think it's a quite a fascinating dynamic to see two former teammates, not 5 years after they split up, but months after they split up, bang, clashing heads. And then not only saying, I didn't like him doing so-and-so move on the track, going out and saying, I really never liked him as a teammate when they were racing. I thought this whole thing is so interesting, and hearing it from both sides, it's not just a heat-of-the-moment issue. It doesn't seem like that, because this seems like something that's been building for a long time, and now you see it days later, and both of them are talking like, hey, you know what? We don't really like each other. So I just think this whole thing is so fascinating. I saw the Chastain thing, and I thought it was just really, really interesting to get those kind of details that you normally don't get to see come to level, not only in sports sometimes, but especially in the professional world too.
Hey, Doug, you know what this warrants? This warrants another trip to the team psychiatrist.
Oh yeah. Hey, and especially in Chastain's case, where it seems like Suarez, I almost said Gregson for some reason. It seems like Suarez is punching above his weight just a little bit right now with the Spire stuff. He comes into Spire as like the third, kind of thought of as the third driver. You know, McDowell and Hurricane Hocevar. And here comes Suarez, one-year deal. And he's up there, and he's hanging on to 16th in points, and he's squeaking out finishes. And he is the third ranked of his three drivers. In fact, yeah, all three Spire drivers are in the top 17 in points. How about that? But Suarez is punching above his weight just a little bit, whereas Chastain has all that hype around his two teammates, and the whole organization is not running great. Only SVG has cranked out some finishes, really. That could bubble. It could need a trip to the team psychiatrist. Another fascinating thing, too, and this is true. Look, Joey Logano is a gentleman with the media. He's very effervescent with race fans, or congenial, I guess, with race fans. And then he puts on the helmet and just, drivers can't stand him as a driver. Ross Chastain was just in the booth with PRN during the O'Reilly race. He loves, or seems to love, doing it. He was great at the Q&A. Any interview I've done with him was great at the Q&A at the Raceway Ministries Tent, Echo Park Speedway. I mean, just super friendly, super laid back. Suarez, same way. Had lunch with him at a Chipotle or whatever, I mean, I'm just like so, just a gentleman. And man, those are two of the fieriest guys when you put them in a race car and when they confront other drivers too. And interestingly enough, Suarez was the one that was more outspoken about it initially than Chastain. Chastain was so mad afterwards. He told the media, no chance I'm talking about this. One more thing about this incident, and it's been referenced several times, the lady standing in between the two of them, Lauren Emling. Devin, you've seen her a bunch at the racetrack. She was at Eric Almirola for a long time, but before Almirola, she was Daniel Suarez's PR person at Stewart-Haas Racing. And then she went to Trackhouse and has been Ross Chastain's for the last couple of years. And, of course, Suarez was at Trackhouse, too. So she has a history, a rapport with both of those drivers. And she stood right in between them after that shove happened to help defuse it. And it worked. And I think she's great. Any dealings I've had with her have always been good. But also, I'm like, man, let them fight a little bit. But the last person that wants them to fight is the PR person. Last person, all right? That's the last person that wants them to fight, the PR person. All right. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure they carry on, but now there's a little more tension there than before. And, hey, let's talk about former teammates. One more thing. Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin hate each other. Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin hate each other. Joey Logano and Kyle Busch have had a big brawlhigh and have since made amends. But Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, no love lost. And they were teammates for a few years there at Gibbs. All right, so it happens. They were a teammate in the Cup Series for 4 seasons together, in fact. All right, leaving Vegas, any other takes, anything? I mean, it was just kind of the standard race. Was there anything about this being the first mile and a half of the year people you struggled or saw triumph? Hendrick and Gibbs seem to have separated from Penske. That's the one that I hear a lot of people say.
I'll say this, and I'm not trying to make a deal about it like we have like the points the past couple of weeks, but Chevy, we're 5 races in, has yet to win a Cup race this year, and that includes exhibition races, I believe.
Right. Yeah, Priest. I don't know. I got to look up who won the duels.
I don't remember the duel.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Elliott won one of the duels. But
right. That's what I thought, yeah.
They haven't won a points-paying race this year. Not making a deal about it, but we're 5 races in, and we haven't seen a Chevy win. I'm just floating that out there.
Yeah, but granted, the same driver won the first 3 races. Yeah, that shakes it up a little bit. Like, if you're winless right now, you're like, okay, but I mean, it's been Reddick, Blaney Hamlin, and that's it. But yeah, I agree. Is they're not leading a ton either. A lot of Toyota up front. A lot of Toyota up front.
Toyota's having a very solid season.
Yeah. All right, so before we get to Darlington preview, we'll pick up some business that started at Circuit of the Americas and is going to carry on now at least through Bristol. Alex Bowman has vertigo. He got a mid-race, as many of you know, at COTA. They put Myatt Snyder in the car. Next week, Phoenix. Anthony Alfredo gets his big shot, gets cleaned out in a crash. He was coming back for some trouble and was running to the top 10, gets crashed out. Justin Allgaier gets put in the 48 car and is going to now take the reins of it, not only as he did this past weekend, but now at least 3 more races that takes all the way through Bristol. Allgaier had a speeding penalty early and was in arrears very early in this race, ended up finishing 25th. Alex Bowman, of course, we wish him well. At this point, his end result, as far as where his ranking is not going to be what judges whether he keeps the 48 car or not. It's going to be, is he healthy enough to drive, and does he start cranking out results, and is he in the right condition once he gets back in the race car to be able to crank those results out, because that drivers have setbacks even when they return to the car. But that's tough there. I want to ask you, Devin, first. You a little bit surprised that maybe in these 3 weeks coming up that Alfredo doesn't get another shot? I mean, he's run a full Cup Series season before. He runs very respectably for the O'Reilly Series, and he gets a ton of sim time. And that is no shade on Allgaier. Allgaier is a champion. All right, Allgaier's great, but thought maybe Alfredo get another shot at a short track or something different. I don't know.
Wasn't Alfredo supposed to be the backup driver for HMS? I'm not sure if that was the.
Well, yeah, I guess he is. So I guess they're saving him to be backup in case they need one. I'm like, well, gosh, they need one.
Yeah, they kind of do need one. But
I mean, they need him now. I'm like, that's like being the understudy for the main part in the play, and they're like, well, no, we still need an understudy. We're going to go grab this guy.
I think it could potentially be for performance things because Allgaier being one of the best drivers in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. Yeah. I think it leans into that. Team Chevy guy. People know who he is.
Yeah.
I know I don't know. I heard a pre-race interview with him, I think on PRN on Sunday while I was driving up to the pool room, and it just sounds like he likes racing the O'Reilly Auto Parts series and he wishes Bowman the best of luck, but he doesn't seem like he wants to be racing on Sundays every week. But
oh no, he doesn't. No.
Yeah, you can hear it in his voice, which I think it's probably something performance related, but this is interesting. It is interesting because I think it's a contract year for Bowman, who I think you could probably positively say he's probably out of that ride. He's missed 11 or 12 races, I believe, in the past 4 years now.
Do you think he's out of it because he missed the races, though? They're all different circumstances.
Well, yeah, they are different circumstances, but, I mean, look at their teammates. How many races did the other teammates miss? Elliott missed a couple of races a couple of years ago, but, I mean...
Are we judging drivers on missing races, though? I mean, I think it's results, isn't it?
Well, yeah, part of that is, too, but also, like take other sports, for instance. If you can't stay healthy, that hurts you when it comes time to contract negotiations. That also hurts you as a driver because if you look at the Cup Series field, the full-time drivers... most of them are racing in every race, right? There's sometimes they might have, we got to take a week off or something like that, right? But when you start stacking multiple races over a time period, it makes it difficult. And sometimes you have to make difficult decisions, which I think HMS is probably getting ready to do. Yeah,
well, and they've stuck. I mean, he took over. So he had a couple years of the Cup Series. He had a full season with Tommy Baldwin in the Cup Series, basically, and then another most of the season before that. Then he lost his ride all of a sudden with Tommy Baldwin, languished for a couple of years as Hendrick's backup driver. And then when Dale Jr. retired after 2017, Bowman got the keys to the number 88. That number 88 eventually became the 48. So that's 2018. This is 2026. So this is his his ninth, right? Yeah, his ninth full-time season. Yeah, 8 and 8, 16. His ninth full-time season driving full-time for Hendrick Motorsports with a handful of wins. Mm-hmm. But that kind of reminds me of like Ken Schrader driving for him. And although Schrader decided to leave in the mid-90s, he hadn't won in like 5 or 6 years when he decided to go run for Andy Petree. You got to think 9 seasons is probably more runway than any driver at Hendrick has gotten that has had those kind of results. What do you think, Dan, about the whole Bowman thing? All right, wait, Devin, you had something to say, and then we'll go to Dan.
I think HMS is getting ready to make a big splash in terms of who they're going to sign to that 48 car.
You got a guess?
I think Connor Zillich, potentially.
Oh, ooh, man.
Because I think they buy out the contract with Trackhouse, and they'll make Red Bull the full-time sponsor. HMS is very good at doing that. Or maybe they do a partnership with Ally. But they would love to get, I think, a Red Bull sponsorship. Think about it. Red Bull likes to associate themselves with top-tier teams. HMS, you could make the argument, the best team in NASCAR. I think it's in the cards there. We'll see how things pan out, but that's just my prediction.
Man, okay. Devin Cupker.
I'm like Devin. There's a lot of things that you don't know about either that Hendrick could do for them, in either engine or performance levels. That let's work together. Let's not work against each other, and let's work together. And I think that's the things that you don't see as much, you don't hear about as much, but there's behind the scenes stuff that happens that we're not privy to and never will be.
Well, no doubt, no doubt. Dan, did you have anything to add on the Bowman thing
I
besides what you just
did.
said there?
I did. I think Devin's right on when you go back on driver history, you have to be concerned about consecutive starts,
Mm.
and those are definitely things that when this keeps happening at the age he's at, then we've got to. That's got to be in the back of your mind whether it is or isn't. And I don't know if either one of y'all have had vertigo. I have,
Mm-mm.
and it is vertigo doesn't even there is no ride at Six Flags that can match vertigo.
Wow.
You're on the ground and you're holding on, and you think you're going to fall off the ground, and you're holding on for dear life. And as I said from the get-go, my prayers are with him and his health, and getting back to where that he's okay.
Yeah.
As long as he's okay, life's good. And that's the first and foremost of any of this, regardless of if they leave him in the car, don't leave him in the car, get well, and then let's move on with our life. But given the circumstances, what I see, I think that for his own health, it might be a deal to where that you'd be better off to get out and do another role, whether it be in the broadcast booth, whether it be with the team, whatever it be. Take care of your health first, and the other stuff will take care of itself.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're definitely not rushing that along. Whatever's supposed to happen will, and we do wish Alex Bowman to be well, regardless of what the racing future is. Just want him to be well because
Yep, and I don't say that in any meaning of that he should get out or anything like that, because I know as a driver he wants to drive. I know that, but let's look at the long term effects, and as long as he's healthy and able to do this, that's fine.
We're going to, just because I only have a couple more minutes before I have to go, I want to quickly mention Daniel Dye has been indefinitely suspended, not only by NASCAR, but by Colleague Racing from their Craftsman Truck Series operation or anything else. He's also been running some O'Reilly races. He was on a stream for a card breaking app or a marketplace app called Whatnot. I don't even know why they were talking like they were on this stream, but he started mocking IndyCar driver David Malukas in a way that people sitting at the bar or sitting at home hanging out would kind of mock people, and then started saying and even calling it, quote, his gay voice, and making David Malukas, who's the brand new Penske driver in IndyCar, sound effeminate, and basically kind of implying that people that are gay are not as much men, and also this guy's not as much of a man as us in NASCAR that race all these different kinds of tracks. That's basically what it was. The fact that he, quote, called it a gay voice and then portrayed it in the way he did has gotten himself suspended. Dies in his early 20s. He got arrested when he was 18 years old for kicking a schoolmate and allegedly rupturing their testicle, all right, and had to atone for that. And he has since already put out an apology about this incident, and I'm sure he'll probably be back in a race car soon. Noah Gragson and Kyle Larson came back for the stuff they did. We won't recount that here. Dye can come back as well. His dad is well connected within the Mopar, Stellantis, Dodge community with dealerships and such. That being said, does either of you have anything to add to the story, or just a feeling you saw when you saw the news? Anything?
Not really.
Yeah, and I don't have much to say about Daniel Dye in comparison to Gregson and Kyle Larson's resumes that warrant their being in a race car. I haven't seen anything from Daniel Dye that makes you go, man, the sport needs. Now, I'm not saying the sport doesn't need him or that he's useless or anything terrible like that. It's just there hasn't been anything redeeming about him as a race car driver that makes you go, man, what a story this is going to be when he comes back. It's more like, gosh, a kid who's already made a punk mistake a few years ago really did not sound any less punk in his mid or his early 20s after that. So that said, I wish him well in that recovery, and it'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen, as far as the time we're recording today here on Wednesday, what Colleague Racing is going to do with Dye's number 10 truck. I'm sure it'll still be on the track, but that's a great way to throw it all away right there. I was surprised Larson came back as quickly as he did, frankly, 6 years ago for what he did. So tough situation there. Looking ahead to Darlington, some things I'm hearing. Drivers and other people say, Tommy Baldwin said a door bumper clear this week. Expect 4 seconds of tire fall off. Denny Hamlin said something similar to that. Now, we have heard expect a ton of fall off with more horsepower and different tire and all that at races where it hasn't panned out. But we've seen 750 horsepower this year, and we've seen better tires this year. Dan, I'll just come to you first real quick. I got like 2 minutes here. So just what are you looking forward to seeing this weekend? All 3 series are back in action.
Regardless of what they say about the tires, you're going to have a race. Everybody's on the same tire. So I'm just looking forward to a good series of races all across the board. I love Darlington. I always have. It's one of the places that you still, for the most part, race the track, and the competition comes second. But it's changed over the course of the decades as well. And you've got to run extremely well there. But it comes down to, as Devin said about Vegas, and certain drivers or certain brands not running as well there. But I think it comes down to what Darlington is. And if you like the track, you run good there. If you don't run as well. Same, I think, as Vegas is.
Devin, you?
Yeah, I think what we saw at Phoenix Raceway a few weeks ago in the 750 horsepower package, I think what we saw at Phoenix is going to be exaggerated, or it's going to be a lot bigger. I made up a new word here, but it's going to be, I think what you saw is going to be blown up more than what you saw at Phoenix. And I think you're going to get a really good race on Sunday at Darlington. The tire wear is going to matter a lot more, and I think we're set for a good one.
Gen 7 era at Darlington. William Byron and Denny Hamlin are 10 points apart, having the most points out of the drivers there. Also, Tyler Reddick, third most, has not won there. Christopher Bell has not won in the Gen 7 era or ever there. Fourth most points, and Joey Logano fifth. Chase Briscoe is the winner of the last 2 fall races there. And who's the meat in that sandwich who won last spring?
Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin. That's right. Brad Keselowski won in the spring 2 years ago, ending a 100-plus race winless drought, and he's about on that close to that, or 70-something races now. Kyle Larson, that big drought, I keep bringing that up too. Kyle Busch, big drought, though I don't see, based on his results in Las Vegas, anything big is going to happen there with Rowdy. All right, so you can look up when and where all the races are. They're spread out over the weekend there. All 3 series are back at it. And then we'll be looking ahead after that here on 5 to go. Dan, show and tell. Quick final thought here.
My final thought is look at this picture.
Yes.
And then, is that 2 old goats?
That's you guys standing next to what you said, I believe, is the 1984 Coors Thunderbird
1984,
in that very garage.
It was in this building that I'm sitting in now. And golly, Pete, that seems like only yesterday, but that has been quite a number of years ago. So time passes when you're having fun.
No kidding. We have a lot of fun right here. Devin, final thoughts from you, sir.
Just looking forward to Darlington this weekend.
Heck yeah, Lady in Black. Dale Jr. made the point that while the teams are not widespread in their throwback weekend and there's not a throwback theme, all teams must be in this decade or this era, it is still a historical or throwback weekend in the sense they're going to have former drivers there. The Hall of Famers, it was Kurt Busch and Harry Gant, will be the Grand Marshals or waving the green flag, one of the two, but they're going to be very present. It is not a throwback weekend just because not every car has a throwback scheme. Carson Hocevar's got the old Earnhardt Wrangler scheme with the Chili Chevrolet number 77. So enjoy it for what it is. It's probably best that not everybody's forcing it, but the ones that want to have at it and enjoy it, okay? And we're going to enjoy more 5 to go next week. For Devin and Dan, I'm Doug. Thanks for being patient with us. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and GoPRN.com. I was talking with PRN this past week. They're going to be changing some stuff with their podcast too, and helping us get stirred up more into that. So we look forward to that. Like, share, and subscribe, and rate, and send money and help and food and all that stuff that any content influencer asks for. And hashtag hire Devin Cuppa. God bless. We'll see you next week here on the 5 to Go podcast.